Today, I want to talk about my experience reselling sneakers on Facebook Marketplace and doing meetups in New York. So I did this between a period of probably like late 2015 to around 2019, I'd say. That was when all the, Jordans and stuff like that were at what I'd say was probably the peak of their popularity and reselling ability. And I'm really not sure how that kind of reselling economy is today. Because at the point where I stopped doing it, Jordans were becoming much more mass produced than they were. They were becoming less rare on purpose because I think they were trying to remove the resale market. They're like, oh, if there is that much demand, we might as well just sell more of them. So I'm sure there's probably still more, expensive ones, but they're also not as much in style right now. I feel like, uh, Jordan specifically. I think people are still wearing Yeezys and all that. I don't really know what people are wearing now, to tell you the truth. But back then with the Jordans, it was just something you know, I learned about through, trying to basically buy them because I wanted them when I was younger. They were cool, whatever. I Part of the reason I'm out of it now is I really don't care about brands and stuff like that, especially for clothes. I really not something that I care about. Uh, but yeah, so this was something that was relatively easy for someone to enter because you just learned about sneakers. You search up the prices, find out which ones are most valuable, and then it was, just looking at the groups. At first, I was trying to just buy them for cheaper, and then I figured, oh, I'd buy them for cheaper, and I could fix them up and resell them. So that's what I did a lot. Is I would get fucked up pairs, people call them beaters, and repair them, or even go on eBay and find older pairs there. The eBay pairs usually were a little bit more uh, expensive than the Facebook groups because the Facebook groups stuff was less rare and also less well taken care of. People selling on eBay generally didn't wear them that much, but the Facebook groups you could find some absolutely trashed shoes. I'm talking like $20 pairs, and that's a lot of what I would get is like $40 for like some Jordan fives or something in some colorway, and I bought the paint, repaint them, clean it up. There was the bottoms would turn yellow. They had like clear bottoms that would turn yellow, so you could buy these creams and stuff and let them sit out in the sun and unyellow it. It worked to varying degrees, but it brings the value up, and then I'd resell them for more. But there are a lot of problems with this because you're not making a lot per pair. You know, Having to meet up with people in the city and stuff. Sometimes they would flake and just not show up. Um, Another trick people would try all the time would be you'd meet up and that agreeing to sell the shoe for let's say $80, and they'd show up and say, "Oh, my bad, I only have 60, but we could still do the," and then I would tell them, no, because we agreed on the price, and but I'm sure it worked for them. Sometimes people would just be like, "Ah, screw it, since you're here already." But obviously they have the money; they're just trying to scam, and it's really crazy. Like people would go out of their way to try to scam people for very small amounts of money. Like it literally would be like $10, $5 sometimes, and they would. I guess this is what they would do all day or something. I really don't know why people would spend that much time on such low level scams, but I don't know. I mean, I wasn't making much money either, but I also was like, you know, 16 years old doing this, so it was cool for high school. It was pretty good. I made you can make a few $100s a year doing this, and people did it on a larger scale. Obviously, people who had connections or bots to buy pairs new online and then resell them. That was a lot more profit. I generally didn't do that. I mostly focused on restoring them because it was less upfront cost, you know. So, I say I didn't have 250 or whatever. Like some of these shoes are getting really expensive up front, but I did have 60 up front. So, and that's probably why I dealt with so many bum ass people too, because it was with these smaller amounts. I remember I was given counterfeit money before too, and that was really dumb of me. But again, I was like 16, 17 when this happened. I definitely learned from it to check the bills better, but I was given counterfeit money. Uh, I've had people try to, haggle you at every step, even again while you are meeting up. So, you know, I have worked for a few people though. Like I had one time, this guy dropped off like 6 pairs of his shoes or like 8 pairs, whatever, and I did a whole bunch of them, a whole bunch of repainting and stuff, and that was all right. And I've had other people drop their shoes off to me, and I would repaint them, de-yellow them, cleaning them. Anyone can clean them, but stuff like repainting and re-gluing, even I did re-gluing. That was, you know, I would do it for other people. They'd pay me to re-glue it. Also, a few pairs I bought old ones online that were crumbled or separating, and I re-glued them. So anything to increase value, because a lot of people just wouldn't even bother; they just sell them. But so definitely I moved finally into the business model of not investing any money up front except for my paints and de-yellowing materials, and have people bring their pairs to me. And that's kind of where I eventually stopped doing that too. Uh, I just had other things I was focusing on, other ways of making money, school, stuff like that. But it definitely was good because I no longer was having to invest, you know, $80, $100 in a shoe, and then I'm sitting on that money until I get the shoe sold. Now it's just I would get half up front and then half upon finishing it. So that definitely was cool. I even tried recording these. I have some videos of me recording them. Like there were channels online that did that. Like one called Retro Snickers which is what I always watched. Uh, but those definitely were good because that's kind of how I learned how to do the restorations too. Like a reglue is a pretty serious restoration, and working with the different materials and stuff, and even swapping them out, like the Jordan stuff, like Jordan 4s, 3s, 5s. The middle material, like the cushion of the shoe, will actually crumble in usually around 10 plus years time. So I actually swapped those out for newer shoes, but you had to learn all types of stuff about like shaving them down because the dimensions of the newer and older models were a little different. So there definitely was a lot to it. There was a lot to it, and but a lot of scams, like I said. People trying to sell fake shoes. Getting replicas, uh, which is not the worst scam in the world because those fakes, a lot of them, yeah, the fakes are made at the same factories as the real ones. So the quote unquote replicas are literally the exact same shoe. They just made more than I guess Nike or Adidas or whatever ordered. But I think yeah, counterfeit products I guess are illegal, but whatever. Those I never got into those though. But you'd have to learn ways of legit checking. And for certain pairs, if I'm buying like a $25 shoe, some beat up thing, it's like whatever at that point. Like I'm, making $20 off this. I'm gonna sell it for $50, like whatever. But yeah, so haven't really done this in a while, but it's a cool it's a cool thing, especially if this is something you're already interested in and you have knowledge about it and about prices. It'd be a decent thing to get into, mainly for a young person, unless of course you can find a way to invest in a lot of new unopened pairs and do it at a larger scale, which I'm sure is still possible. But yeah, if anyone else has done this, comment it. Comment another business or side hustle or something like that you've started similar to this, or you want to hear about. And yeah, remember to subscribe. I got more videos on the way. All right.